Watching features means that the user who watches will receive updates via email when the status of the feature or developing status is changed. So let's create an additional field, the list of users who are watching the feature. That would be an array link, the array of links to the app user's data structure. Alright. Moreover, we need an additional data structure which contains the requests for watching or unwatching. Let's name it watch request, and there will be at least two fields: the link to the user who requested, link to app users, and the link to feature which is being watched. Alright. Next, we need an API endpoint for our actions to send the requests. That will be the endpoint for watch request data structure, the regular conditions for security settings. Here we will be able to write two fields. But it seems to be not enough. I want to use the same data structure both for requests for unwatching and watching. So I'm adding the new field type, watch unwatch, and that would be a string field. Don't forget to add that field for writing in endpoint. Alright. Of course, we need one more endpoint for our page of watched features. We are adding it, the endpoint to features data structure, clicking a few fields for reading. We won't write anything via that API endpoint. And the filter, I would love to filter the features that are being watched by me. It means that users watching IDs contains the ID of the user. Alright, going to the web page, watch features, choosing the new API endpoint, then setting up the card view, the color, request status, tags, of course the counter of boats. Let's have a look. Alright, there are no features which are watched by me. Let's create an action, watch the feature, on the page where we created the features for upvoting. We are using the API endpoint for watching requests, that one, and configuring the automatic mapping. Type would be watch, then user ID is the user ID from the session and feature ID from the card. Alright, we are creating new object, new request. Here, watch the feature, but it does nothing because we don't have the proper scenario. Let's create a group of scenarios watching features, and there we are adding the processing of watch and unwatch requests. We're choosing the target data structure request, and the trigger new. It means that the scenario processes each and every new object if the event is generated. And there are two options. The first one for adding user to the list who is watching, and the second option is unwatching the feature by the user. Of course, don't forget to comment the scenario. Here we are adding the user ID to the list of users who are watching the feature. Don't forget to turn on the coding mode for invoking the function. Let's consult the documentation one more time. Adding an element to an array, deconcat. Where to add the array and what to add. The element, new element, user ID. Alright? And the second option, unwatch, removes the element from the array. Let's have a look. The function dsplice. Dsplice, don't forget to turn on the coding mode. An array and what to remove from an array. Alright. Edit, run, and let's have a look. Click watch the feature. Let's have a look at the list. Alright. Feature has been added to the list. And we can see the logs of the scenario. Let's create an action for unwatching the features. The action will work via the same API endpoint. But there will be one difference. The type will be unwatch, and the scenario will process it accordingly. Unwatch, and then we are mapping feature ID to the ID from an object card. Alright, and user ID from the session. And now it should work. Unwatch. Alright, it vanished. Let's add a couple of features to the watch list. And let's have a look at the database. At one of the features. Alright, that is the list of users who are watching the feature. And now we are going to create a scenario which will notify the user if something happened. The trigger would be changed object. If one of the fields, status or development status, changed, the scenario will run. Alright. Going to throw an array of users who are watching the feature to another scenario. That is the way to handle array link fields. We're creating a new scenario, notifying users. Target structure would be app users. No trigger for start, because the scenario will be linked from other scenario. We're adding a parameter, feature, type of link, the link to the feature. Alright. We're composing the email message to the user with all the information about feature status. We're having the feature in the context variable. Alright. Saving, publishing and running. And don't forget to configure the link scenarios tab. We are choosing our array link field, the list who are watching, then choosing this scenario, notify users. We are providing the scenario with the context, the link to the feature, ID of the feature. Alright, save and publish and run. And let's test it. We are going to features management and we are changing the status of the feature that we are watching. Alright, correct, we got the email. And another small piece, I would love to be notified about my features, so we could add the automatic subscription to the feature that I've created. So we are creating an object, watch request, then mapping the fields that the user is author of the feature, user ID who requested the feature, then type, of course, watch, and then the feature is the feature ID. Alright, and very important not to forget to turn on generating event, otherwise the scenario will not run. Alright, let's test by creating new request. Submitting. Let's have a look at the list of watched features, and here we are. Correct.